The last thing I expected when I pulled up to my lake cabin that summer afternoon was to find a stranger parked on my porch swing, iced tea in hand, acting like he owned the place. Shirtless Bluetooth headset on, grinning at nothing in particular. I just stood there for a second trying to figure out if I'd parked at the wrong cabin or maybe lost my mind somewhere along that long dirt road. "Hey!" I called out, climbing out of my truck and squinting against the sun. "Can I help you?" The guy, tall, tan, maybe 30, didn't even flinch. Just turned his head slow as a glacier and said, "You must be the neighbor." "I'm Travis. This is my place now." Man, my blood ran cold. "No, sir," I told him, walking right up the steps. "This is my family's cabin. Has been since '82. I stared him down, waiting for him to blink, but he just smiled. HOA president told me it was abandoned, so she signed it over. My mom handled all the paperwork. Your mom. And right then it hit me. Travis was Karen's son. HOA Karen. The woman who smiled with her mouth, not her eyes, always wore a suit jacket to neighborhood meetings like she was cross-examining the world. Let me tell you, seeing that guy on my porch swing the one my granddad built with his own hands while my pines rustled in the summer breeze, I wasn't just angry. I was shaking. But I didn't yell, didn't threaten. I just turned around, got back in my truck, and drove up the road to park near the HOA office. Called up a fencing company right there, ordered steel panels taller than Travis, and promised myself if they wanted to mess with boundaries, I'd give them boundaries they'd never forget. 3 hours later, with a couple of helpers and a delivery truck, I started fencing not just my property, but right up against the sidewall of the HOA headquarters. The moment Karen stepped outside to see what the racket was about and spotted me dropping a fence post through her prized tulip bed, she lost it. "What do you think you're doing?" she screamed, red-faced hands flapping like she was about to fly away. I just smiled and waved the blueprints I'd filed 2 years ago. "Just fencing what's mine, Karen." She stomped off, promising I'd regret it. But under my breath, I whispered, "No, Karen, you will." Now maybe I need to back up a bit because this whole mess didn't start with fences or porch swings. I'm Mark Palmer. I grew up right here in Columbia Falls, Montana. My dad bought this little lakeside place when I was a kid, a real fixer-upper, but he turned it into home with nothing but old tools, sweat, and stories. The HOA came along a couple years back, supposedly, to protect property values. I never cared much for rules, but I figured what's the harm in neighbors looking out for each other? That was before Karen Dwyer decided she ran the place. She started small noise complaints, letters about mailbox color, parking violations for anyone who didn't park head in. I figured if I kept to myself, waved politely, and paid my dues, she'd leave me alone. Then last fall, my sister in Oregon needed me, so I left for 6 months, locked the cabin up tight, paid every bill, and asked old Joe to check in on things. When I came back, Joe looked uneasy. "Mark," he said, "I saw some guy moving stuff into your place." My stomach sank, but I hoped it was nothing. Turns out it was Travis, and he was already making himself at home. Watching that steel fence rise up felt good. Not petty, not angry, just righteous. People who mistake kindness for weakness. Forget that quiet folks know where every line's been drawn. I figured the fence would end it, but I underestimated Karen. That night, as I sat sipping coffee in my truck, headlights flashed behind me. Black SUV-tinted windows. Guy in dark glasses stepped out, clipboard in hand. "You Mark Palmer?" he asked, not even waiting for me to answer before flipping the board around. "You've been served cease and desist per the HOA." I was still wrapping my head around that when Travis, half drunk and waving a hammer, stumbled onto the porch. "You can't take this place from me," my mom promised. Right there in front of the whole neighborhood, he blurted out he knew it was never his. The suit and glasses gave me the tiniest smirk, like he knew the tables had just turned. The next morning, the HOA sent 3 board members' badges clipped to their shirts' folders under their arms, looking like a dollar store version of the FBI. "You're in violation of Obstruction Code 4B, subsection 12, one barked. I told them my fence was on my property, showed them certified maps and county deeds. Karen had redrawn the lot lines, they said. Registered the cabin under Travis. I didn't argue. Just pulled out my notarized land survey, handed it over. One by one, they flipped through their folders, faces falling as the reality set in. They threatened court, but I'd already filed a quiet title action before my trip. I never trusted Karen. Her eyes always darted like she was hiding something. Sure enough, that afternoon, Rick, my lawyer buddy, showed me a forged quitclaim deed with my signature. Except it wasn't my handwriting. If we prove she did this, Rick said, Karen's in deep trouble. That night, I scanned every page of my dad's old notebooks, every photo, every bill, made copies for every neighbor's mailbox with a note. What if your home was stolen while you were helping family? The next morning, the HOA office was chaos. Karen screaming at officers, neighbors asking questions. Travis, meanwhile, slumped on my porch swing, bottle in hand, tears streaming down his face. She said it was a gift, he mumbled. I thought it was just paperwork. I handed him a glass of water, sat beside him. If you really believed it was yours, you'd have brought your own furniture. He laughed, wiped his eyes, and promised to testify. But Karen wasn't done. Next, she filed to condemn my fence, said it was aggressive in design, claimed I threatened her, filed a complaint against the county assessor. I was ready, though I'd already pulled every HOA financial record I could under public access laws. That night, I came home to find my cabin ransacked, drawers open, kitchen knives missing, and get out, or else carved into the pantry wall. Even my dad's WW2 medal's gone. I didn't call the sheriff. I drove to his office and laid it all out, the forged deed, the threats, the break-in. Sheriff Donnelly told me other lake folks were reporting strange things, too. Broken windows, slashed tires, missing garden statues. You think she's retaliating? He asked. She's desperate, I said, but she picked the wrong man. Then came the twist. Travis's car was found at the marina, and inside was a flash drive labeled HOA Karen 2021. When I plugged it in, I found a gold mine, fake invoices, checks to Lakeview Legal Consultants, actually, a tanning salon 2 towns over, bank transfers to shell companies. Fraud, pure and simple. I didn't go to the police first. Instead, I invited every neighbor to a lakeside potluck, no permits, just food and stories. When everyone had eaten, I showed them the proof. Karen tried to shout me down, but the dam broke quiet. Neighbors started speaking up. She fined me for a birdhouse. She threatened to tow my car. She stole from us. Karen ran inside the office, slammed the door, and by sundown, people were demanding a vote to remove her. But that night, my boathouse went up in flames. Firefighters found the charred remains of the last photo I had of my dad and me on the dock. Karen wanted to erase me, but all she did was strengthen my resolve. The next morning, Rick filed criminal charges. Travis came to the sheriff's office, hands shaking, and gave a full statement. Karen forged transfers, bribed local officials, even had a list of properties she planned to reassign to friends. Sheriff Donnelly opened a formal investigation. The news went live with the story, Lakeview HOA president under investigation for fraud. The town council called an emergency hearing. Neighbors signed a petition to dissolve the HOA entirely. Just as I thought it was over, the state sent in a receiver. Mr. Holt, a tall, cold man in a black suit with the smile of a loan shark. He froze. All HOA activity started reviewing every deed, every transfer, including my own. I didn't trust him. And with good reason, a little digging turned up. He'd worked for developers that specialized in flipping communities like ours into resorts. The threats started again, slashed tires, bricks through my window. Anonymous notes. I kept records installed, cameras didn't back down. Found even more proof, blueprints marked confiscate checks to ghost vendors, lists of local officials in Karen's pocket. I handed everything to Janet, an investigative journalist, an old family friend. She aired the story statewide, and within days Karen was arrested, Holt suspended, and the HOA board resigned en masse. I became head of a new community council not out of ego, but because neighbors trusted I'd fight for them, not myself. We turned the old office into a library, rewrote the bylaws, made service our rule. I replaced the porch swing, hung my dad's photo framed, Travis's apology check, and promised myself never again. So if you're watching this and living under the thumb of a petty HOA or a bully with a clipboard, remember kindness isn't weakness, and fences aren't just for keeping folks out. Sometimes they're for drawing a line no one dares to cross. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to fight for what's rightfully yours? Drop your story in the comments. Let's show these bullies they're outnumbered. If you believe in standing your ground, hit like and share this so nobody else loses their home to a fake community. And if you ever find yourself up against a Karen, remember you don't have to yell to win. Sometimes you just need to build a better fence.